Thank you very much, Andy, for this opportunity. I'm really happy to come back to my colleagues, to the ECH Alliance. Many of you who are on the call today, of course, we know each other. I've seen Joanna. I've seen a few other colleagues. I apologize. I've just had a big conference that is now being decomposed here in Ljubljana, and I will tell you later about what this conference was about. Before heading off to another meeting, I wanted to squeeze this in spite of the fact that I realized later, what I committed to when I promised to Andy that I will participate. But still, a commitment is a commitment. I will talk about healthcare transformation. So there are, I think, 7 or 8 slides. It's not too long. Basically, the structure. We believe that what Brian and Andy and everybody else, Adriana, created, with this idea, of all these stakeholders, and we see the story repeated, all over the world, not just in Europe. Is something that is a unique position of these ecosystems, and this I really think. Basically, Health Day was established in 2014 as an event, as a conference, and then it went through different phases, and we are now in I would say, a new phase. A few words about it later on. Basically, it still is a mailing list of about 1,700. The unique value of the mailing list is not its size, but the engagement. So whenever we send this out, it's always a multi-stakeholder address to doctors, to pharmacists, to digital health experts, policymakers, and others. So it has this appeal of, this might be interesting for everybody. So it's a multi-stakeholder community, and the patients at the center. This is perhaps the best description of my role now. You will see why. This is the state of affairs as I presented it in May last year. So this is a little bit after I went out of direct work for ECH Alliance. I'm sure this list is now heavily updated already. Andy is nodding, so congrats on that. Fantastic about the United Nations. Please pay my regards to Brian. I think this is wonderful stuff that you're doing, and I'm, as from Slovenia, still supporting the work that ECH Alliance does. So now, what are the special skills that you need to run? This was basically, this is done on a basis of a presentation for people who don't know ecosystems. And so please consider it with a grain of salt. All of you are, we are on the same boat, I would say. But, here are a few insights. So ecosystems have to be open. You can't close them off to competitors, like you work with somebody, you're closing them off. You can't close them off monetarily, like tickets costing €300. Some very weak stakeholders will not enter in this regard, and you're losing out on the voice of the weakest, or students, or somebody starting. And lead with the need is an English phrase that Brian uses a lot. This means that let's not talk in general. Let's focus on where we see the needs. I think it's a good lesson for actually any field of endeavor. Let's not push agenda where actually there are no needs. That is just solutions looking for problems. Connecting the dots, we all know this. Be practical. Connect names with names. Don't go like I'm looking for an innovation manager, a digital help this or minister that. I don't think that works. So in the 4 years I've worked for ECH Alliance, I actually learned that besides names, it's actually about personal stories. And wherever this connection really happened, this is where the most fruits were on the road. So wherever I wanted to sort of establish something special, if I just went from a list to a list to a list, from an email to email to email, there was never as much result when you go from a friend to a friend to a friend. So let's keep this in our mind. Most services, of course, they need to be free. I extended this. So if my starting position in 2018, when I started working for ECH Alliance, was very much digital health, I have opened up very much towards innovation in healthcare. So I see this as an ecosystem for promoting innovation, 3 areas in particular. So technology, you can call it digital health, med tech, or hardware, software. The other one is biotechnology or biopharmacy. And the third one is management of healthcare, which is deficient in many ways. We are a laggard in many ways, So this industry is very, very much behind. And of course, this is a personal perspective. We've always had really serious issues with finance. Perhaps I will put it on my own. But seriously, these are very soft animals, these ecosystems. As at the moment they become really strong, you lose something very important. And ECH Alliance is a testament to that. I think ECH Alliance's strength is its non-strength, which is sort of lack of a proper business model, piggybacking on projects. But actually, the connections that are not paid for but are free, like we do work for you, you do work for us, and no money is exchanged, bring something that you can't actually exchange for money, and it's the trust. I think this element of trust is something that is really highly valuable. So anybody already, sometimes there are a few phases of entering such relationships, and in the meantime, in the beginning, usually you are very excited. Then you realize that the certain services are lacking and you are disappointed. But at the end, my learning was that those really soft connections where you simply trust somebody on the other side, a person with a first name, is something that is really the residue. And this is wonderful. This is the thing to do. I was a part of leaders of the Slovenia delegation to Dubai. I shall not go in detail. The ecosystem helped bring forward a white paper. This is 80 pages. It's translated to English. I recommend if anybody is interested. So we really learned the ins and outs of value-based healthcare. It's not something that is out of the scope of what is done in Europe. So it references heavily on the work that has been done elsewhere. And but we really upgraded ourselves because we included the main experts in Slovenia. There were actually more than 20 people involved, not just the authors. And this is an expedition of Estonians to Slovenia, which we organized. Very good practice that we learned from Galicia, from Villa. And this is where I'm at today. So we, in a way, so I'm the Secretary General of the Patient Association, with Health Day still being on a back burner, but honestly, it is on a back burner. So it's less activity than we had perhaps 2 years ago, 3 years ago, but it's not that it's not alive. Far from being, sort of finished. So there are still the silky connections stay. And we believe it will be a good platform to build on. So now I'm in the center of the ecosystem. I'm the patient representative, and what we gained to an extreme level is the ability to speak to the media, which you see here, to the doctors and policymakers. I never imagined that the level of access that we would be getting after a year of hard work, this was a year of hard work, would be at this point. And currently, we are basically listened to by absolutely everybody in Slovenia in terms of healthcare, often touted as the key, the key or the pillar for the upcoming or ongoing healthcare reform. And this is a very responsible but also very gratifying position. And I learned a lot of this while talking to many of you and while being a part of Andy's team, and I'm really grateful for that. So that is my final slide.